Okay, let's do this. Welcome here, and thank you for joining us. So, what do you do when you can't do the things the way you've always done them? I wager that will be one of the top 10 questions of 2020. That and, why do people hoard toilet paper? A year ago, even as we prepared for our 2019 Gala, I was negotiating with the Victoria Inn on space for this year's event. Why not? I've been to 28 Youth for Christ galas, and every year they happen at about the same time. Not this year. Not in 2020. So what do? I'll tell you what we did. We prayed, and we wrung our hands, and we debated different options, and we prayed some more. And then we got this idea. What if we blew up the gala? And rather than gather everyone in one big room, we gathered in small groups of people in dozens of homes across the city. And why stop at just Brandon? There are so many people who have wanted to attend a gala in the past, but just couldn't. So why not host a gala viewing party all over the prairies? Tonight, instead of 60 tables full of people sharing stories and good food with friends, we have more than 60 homes hosting viewing parties. Hello, Saskatoon. Thank you for investing your time to watch this program, this Gala program, with your friends. Here's what you can expect. In the next hour, just like last year's Gala, we will be giving you small windows into our ministries and the lives of the youth we get to share with. Between those, we've sprinkled in some images and some opportunities for participation. Opportunities like maybe not those. Beyond the Gala of Hope, the coronavirus has impacted the ways we follow Jesus into the lives of West Man youth. Much of our work is an essential service. So our staff have been meeting and serving youth through the various stages of lockdowns and isolation orders. We've adapted. We've modified how we do things. We've introduced masks and sanitizers. We've set up extra office space so we can physically distance. And everyone, all of our staff, have spent some time working from home. But we continue to meet with youth. We continue to find ways to make human connections. And many youth have been more open to praying with staff as COVID has added to their anxiety, and the restrictions have increased their isolation. Creating a community of hope among young people has never been more essential than it is today. I want to take a moment and say thank you. I want to say thank you to our sponsors. Many local businesses have been hit hard this year, and their willingness to continue investing in young lives is a testament to their commitment to our community. Thank you. Thank you for sponsoring. I also want to thank our hosts who have graciously opened up their homes to viewing parties. It is good to celebrate. It is good to celebrate what God is doing together. I'd also like to ask our board members to stand up. Now, every year I ask them to stand, and every year they wish I didn't. But to be honest, they have provided steady leadership these past months. Not only are we navigating public health orders, we are also in the middle of a multi-million-dollar building project. Their leadership has been vital. Thank you. And before I hand the stage over to the people you really want to hear from. Just one quick story. 20 plus years ago, Roxanne and I were directing a Gospel Light Bible camp. Directing camp was a new experience for us. So a few of our Bible college friends had pity on us, and they came and they served as cabin counselors. Tim was one of those. Tim is a big guy. He's got black, thick-rimmed glasses and lots of hair. He also has the softest heart. So we asked him to lead the youngest cabin. Doug, or Dougie as he came to be known, was a first-time camper. Dougie took to Tim like a bee to honey. I mean, I have this image of Dougie riding high on Tim's shoulders with the rest of the cabin standing around them as they're waiting in line to get in for lunch. Dougie was so happy. So you fast forward a few years. This time I saw Doug as he moved all of his belongings into the U-turn house. Over the next few years, Doug would call U-turn his home. Now, Kai and Ollie, they were a couple from Germany. They came and they volunteered to live with us as house parents. And as house parents, they created a safe and stable environment for Doug. They prayed together, they made meals together. They taught Doug how to wash his laundry, how to clean his room. They made sure he got to school every day. Doug was like other homeless young people. Doug came and he found in Youth for Christ people who saw more in him than he sometimes saw in himself. People who saw through his past and into his potential. So yesterday, Doug and I were connecting on Facebook. Doug is now married. He has 2 kids of his own. He works full-time with a trucking company and was just promoted to shift supervisor. Kai and Ollie were not the only people who saw potential in Doug. But when Doug needed a safe place with people who saw who he could be, they were there for him. Youth Unlimited is an aspirational tag we've incorporated into our new logo. It's a reminder to us of the unlimited potential God has created within every young person we get to share life with in each of our different ministries. So sit back. Enjoy the rest of this evening.
Adam was drowning. A huge wave sucked him towards it and then broke across him like a sack of gravel, bouncing him along the sand and seaweed. Desperate for air, Adam was churned around until he no longer knew up from down. Then the current relaxed its grip, and up he went, just in time for the next big wave to break over his head and push him back under. Each time he surfaced, the process repeated itself until he was battered and winded and still out of his depth. He swallowed water, tried not to breathe it in, waved frantically at the party on the shore. They were packing bags and chatting, paying him little attention. Once or twice, someone waved back. We, as humans, are created to live on land. We have the potential to swim if we are taught and given the experience, but we don't live in the water. It's something we do for leisure or exercise or survival. At some point, to live happy and healthy lives, we need to be able to swim to shore. Homelessness is like drowning. Just over a year ago, Shannon walked out of jail, pregnant, and moved into a house where drug use and sex trafficking was the norm. About the same time, Adam walked into our office screaming and swearing that we needed to help him get his Old Spice body wash bottle out of the emergency shelter he was just evicted from. I suspect the bottle was the home of his last stash of meth. Shannon and Adam were drowning in an overwhelming ocean of instability. They were both homeless, vulnerable, and in survival mode, just thrashing through each moment, hoping to make it to the next. They had no way to get to the restful shores of home on their own, and because of that, had no rest from the waves of life, which continued to beat all around them. How do youth like Shannon and Adam realize their potential to swim that will save them from drowning? How do they move towards the shore? How do they find rest? The same way that you and I do. Connection, safety, expectation. When you invest in U-Turn, you stop waving from the shore and put Bryce, one of U-Turn's life skill coaches, in a lifeboat and connect him with Adam. Adam has struggled with substance abuse and managing his anger, but this doesn't scare Bryce. Through Adam's anger, Bryce sees fear, and when Adam needs to vent, Bryce picks him up, they grab a cup of coffee, they go for a drive together while Adam unloads. Bryce calmly listens, holds a huge invitation for a lifetime of unheard and unaccepted emotion. And not so surprisingly, an Adam who is heard and accepted, who is someone offering him an invitation to rest, despite the overwhelming tide of his experience, is able to start to take some purposeful strokes forward. When you invest in U-Turn, you put Shannon in safe housing where she can start building a home. All of us need a place where we can kick off our shoes, put up our feet, take a break from the crashing storms of life. Imagine waking up in the morning with uninvited guests sleeping on the couch or using drugs at the kitchen table. Talk about unsafe. Your investment into U-Turn introduced Shannon to Nikki, another U-Turn life skill coach who put her in relationship with a landlord who took an immediate liking to Shannon and signed a lease on a safe apartment. Now Nikki listens to her story, prays with her throughout her struggles, and provides much needed relational stability. Shannon has a safe place to create her own home. When you invest in U-Turn, you expect Adam and Shannon to realize more of their potential and learn how to swim. U-Turn has a lawn mowing crew, helping youth develop pre-employment skills. This summer, Adam was our most consistent and energetic participant. Connection, safety, and the expectation that he could show up and make the lawns in Brandon look better every week have led to significant steps towards independence for Adam. A month ago, Adam celebrated 1 year of sobriety from meth. Talk about realizing potential. Just a few weeks ago, Shannon and Nikki left the courthouse where the judge is giving Shannon an incredible amount of grace and working with her to keep her out of jail. The judge wants to keep hearing about how Shannon is making positive changes in her life and wants to see her again next month. If all goes well, Shannon will be starting cosmetology school shortly. Shannon is swimming. We are created to live with 2 feet firmly planted on the ground, among those that care for us, accept us, give us opportunity to thrive. When life is overwhelming and young people have no safe place to call home to lay their head at night, not surprisingly, they feel alone and drowning in an ocean of chaos and confusion. We can all tread water for a while when life is stormy and chaotic. Think of the season of COVID. But to live well, we all need connection, safety, and expectation. That's where you, from the shore, can make a really big difference. I want to leave you with this. Henry Nouwen, the great Dutch Catholic priest, professor, writer, and theologian, once said, "The mystery of ministry is that we have been chosen to make our own limited and very conditional love the gateway for the unlimited and unconditional love of God." When Bryce meets with Adam, this is what he does. When Nikki meets with Shannon, this is what she offers. When you invest in U-Turn, you offer your limited and very conditional love to Adam and Shannon through Bryce and Nikki. And that simple expression of imperfect love becomes the gateway for the unlimited and unconditional love of God to work in Adam and Shannon's life. The difference between meeting a young person facing homelessness, floundering in an overwhelming ocean of unrealized potential, or a young person learning how to swim purposefully and meaningfully in the sea of life, resting from the storm in the safe haven that we call home, is you. When you invest in U-Turn, you offer Shannon, Adam, and 28 other youth connection, safety, and expectation. You are the conduit to relationship with God. You create home.
At the time, I was having trouble facing my problems. We'll say honestly, I had no life skills at the time too. I went from being in the CFS ward to homeless to coming to Brandon and then ending up in U-turn. And it wasn't bad. There, it was actually really awesome. Desmond was there back then, and like he got me set up with some nice clothes, so I wasn't looking so grubby, because that was bothering me. And I had nice furniture and stuff in my place, and I just couldn't. I don't know. I just couldn't keep to the one spot at the time. So, and I just kind of ran back home to Winnipeg and then ran back here. I think it was mostly because I was so used to being homeless at the time that it's just all I knew. And so, yeah, in my eyes, I wasn't ready at the time, but I ended up back anyway. So that was a good thing. And after that, things lasted longer. It kept repeating itself until the last time I was in U-turn a little bit. Like I would go to the program, but I just couldn't stick it out to the end. And then I would go off and do my own thing. And then I would end up asking to get back into the program. So, but the last time I ended up I remember leaving on good terms and on my own. So that actually was that year was probably the biggest stepping stone for me.
So what about the pride part of being in U-turn? Like, looking back, what are you proud about?
I'm really proud of the fact that I didn't destroy my place my last time I moved out.
Yeah.
That was always been a problem for me. You know, I'm just being kind of the person that just says, you know, I'm just gonna go and just go and leave everything behind. You know, I lost everything so many times that I become numb to it. And I don't know. I just, and you know, the fact that I'm able to hold a job somewhat, as long as I can keep my anxiety under control. That's a big stepping stone for me. So, and I'm able to communicate more. 10 years ago, I wouldn't communicate. So I wouldn't tell people what's up, what my problems are. I still have trouble doing that actually, but I'm a lot better at it now. So.
There are 3 resources young people need. 3 resources we are asking you to consider investing in tonight. Your prayers, your time, and your finances. To join a prayer team, email becky@wyfc.ca. To become a volunteer, email brandon@wyfc.ca. To invest your finances, e-transfer Gala@wyfc.ca, or if you like credit card, go to wyfc.ca/donate. After our next presentation, there will be a short active transition. If you're at a viewing party, your host will have the necessary supplies. Instructions will be on the screen. Enjoy.
Have you ever been at a family thing or with a group when you've told stories until you've cried? Or maybe you've just shared some fun that has brought out the best of everyone in the room. Those kind of times are meaningful, aren't they? Times when you can relax and totally be yourself. Times when you have peace. That's what a sense of belonging does for people. There's a few of us volunteers and staff of YFC who long to create those places of belonging for the youth in our city. Kind of like that old TV show of the people at the bar. We think that youth should have great places to go where everybody knows your name. It's so strong that I'll never forget the sense of joy I had the one night after a group time discussion where one of our drop-in youth yelled out, "We are one big effed up family." And it wasn't a cringe moment for me. It was a happy moment. I was going, yes, we are starting to get it right. Western YFC has 4 community groups. Pizza and Bible community, the Create community that gathers around art, a girls group that meets on Wednesdays, and then there's the youth drop-in community. A few of us leaders were sitting around sharing the other day, laughing and telling stories. And they were stories that showed youth enjoying the sense of family happening among us. Like when Create started again. After being on hiatus at the beginning of the pandemic, one young man came in, plopped himself in his usual seat, and his smile was from ear to ear. He was feeling very isolated and lonely, and he said he was so glad to be back there, and it felt like it was a piece of normal. And I think we can all relate to that feeling as we look for pieces of normal in our own lives. So he was at Create. Or then there was the girls group. A participant's mom recently died, and her friends, the group and the volunteers, they rallied around her, and families are like that. And at Easter, when COVID was just starting, that girls group did food deliveries to each of the members. But no one ate them until they met on Zoom and ate together, like a family. And then there was especially that one night at Pizza and Bible. The discussion centered around people who had made a difference in each of their lives. And a youth who was normally very quiet and standoffish suddenly became vulnerable in front of the whole group and said to John, who leads the group, "It made a difference in my life when you invited me in to be a part of this." One of our drop-in volunteers, who was in her 60s, was in the mall when a youth shouted from across the food court, "Grandma!" And he came running up to her all smiles. And by the number of times this volunteer has told me this story, I'm not sure who is happier to see who that day. Those moments tell us all that God is up to something through these groups, making places of belonging and family in ways that we couldn't have imagined at the outset. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some uncomfortable moments too, like when a group of people become comfortable enough to let the real selves out. It's going to get awkward sometimes. But we have some great volunteers. One volunteer in her first time out had a youth come and talk to her about a lot of weird things and really put her on the spot. She wasn't sure she could do this, but then she realized, you know what? It's not about me. These kids really need this group. And so she came back, became a regular volunteer, and now the youth have a special place in her heart. It's obvious to me that there's something special going on in these community groups, something that resonates with the young people, with the volunteers and the staff alike. Or is it someone making spaces where youth can belong before they believe? And it's in the process giving volunteers and staff a meaningful place to belong as well. It's kind of mutual. I want to leave you with the story of Ashley. Ashley unnerved me for almost a year when she was first coming to the drop-in. She declared to me that I was hateful towards the LGBTQ community before I had even said a word to her. And in fact, she made all of us nervous. But we just decided to be consistent and care. And I got to tell you, things have turned around. Now she is one of our fiercest defenders, saying that our drop-in is a place of acceptance, tolerance, and believing in people. And I tell you, if I ever had to walk down a dark alley out of all the people I know, I'm taking Ashley. Just the other night, a couple who volunteer at drop-in, and they made a meal for us, and he was remembering the time that Ashley looked at the group of us volunteers and asked, "Why the F are you doing this?" I didn't say it then, but honestly, the thing that drives me is a vision. She's a pastor in the making, a church leader. Ashley would probably cringe at that statement. She'd probably give me the middle finger. But she wouldn't do it in the same way I would do it. But she would do it like she's got destiny written all over her, you know? They all do. And we feel so honored to be part of the journey, drawing out the potential. Thank you for being part of that journey. Thanks.
One of the incredible things about being a community-based youth center ministry is having the ability to identify the needs of the community and the youth that call it home. Youth for Christ can find opportunities to fill the gaps that are present in the lives of these young people. For the past 15 years, the Hideout in Virden has been doing just that. It started by identifying the need for a youth center, with many youth in the community struggling with relational issues in their homes, around their friends, or with their teachers. Something Virden was missing was a place for youth to come and hang out where they could be themselves without fear. When youth come from a broken home or experience unhealthy relationships in their homes and families, it can be hard for them to trust anyone, especially the authority figures in their life. By meeting the need of having somewhere to call their own and a place to belong, the Hideout could work towards building the relationships that would identify further needs that these youth had. Today, the Hideout is still a place for kids to come and find a place to belong. In addition to the drop-in program, the YFC team in Virden has a number of other unique opportunities to connect with youth and serve their community. Throughout the week, YFC staff go into the high school at lunch and supervise. They meet the kids and interact with them in their own environment. Connecting with youth in their own environment is a powerful way to show them that you care. On Saturdays, we facilitate a lunch program called Soul Food for youth to come and make a meal with us. We learn together and share the experience of creating something. And then we take time to share the meal we made. So much of Jesus' ministry was based around meals and the shared experience of eating together. Soul Food was started so that the youth could have both physical and spiritual nourishment. One of the really fun ways we get to create and adapt programming is actually working with the young people in Virden to develop new opportunities. A great example of this is our youth band, Nouwen. We want youth to be able to explore their passions and use the talents that God has given them to grow closer to Him. Creating music together has been a great way to encourage connection and growth, and we will have a chance to share this through their stories. While COVID continues to impact our communities and our daily opportunities for young people look slightly different today, we are continuing to adapt programs to create opportunities for connection and belonging.
Okay, it's time for one of those active transitions Savannah was talking about earlier. It is time to figure out, if you're at a viewing party, why we sent you potatoes. So at a normal gala, you have time to get up, you have time to stretch your legs, go chat with some people, and it's difficult to figure out how to recreate that at a virtual event. Now, anytime I have a big life question, I ask myself, what would Guy Fieri do? And the answer in this case is obviously minute to win it. So grab a couple volunteers, grab that bag of supplies we sent you, and the first thing you're going to take out your wooden skewer, you're going to take out your pasta. The game is simple. skewer in the mouth, piece of pasta near the edge of the table. You're going to see how many pieces of pasta you can get on your skewer in less than 60 seconds. Got your people? Got your supplies? Your time starts now.
What are we going to do?
You need to put the skewer further in your mouth, I think.
This is impossible.
Hey folks, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope that you're enjoying your food, your drink, and your good company. And I hope that you did way better at that last minute to win a game than I did. Speaking minutes, we want to take one right now and just make you aware of some staffing vacancies that we have here at YFC. Maybe what you're hearing and seeing tonight is resonating with other conversations that you've had with friends, with yourself, and with God about where you can serve. If that's the case, here's some possibilities. We're looking for a part-time receptionist, a full-time life skills coach with U-Turn, a full-time mentorship position with Common Spaces, a drop-in director, full or part-time lit group staff, and there's lots of volunteer opportunities, including volunteer resident opportunities at Common Spaces. If any of these strike you as interesting, or you just want to know a little bit more about them, we'd love to have a conversation. Thanks and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hi, I'm Susan Martins. I am a vocalist and also the volunteer leader of Nouwen.
I'm Dylan Fefchak and I sing and play ukulele.
Hi, I'm Evan Taryn and I play piano in Nouwen.
Hi, I'm Dylan Southam and my instrument is my voice.
My name is Jackson Chadney and I play the drums.
Hi, my name is Felicia Pringle and I do the sound for Nouwen.
Hi, I'm Samantha Andrew and I play violin in Nouwen.
I'm Olivia Moas and I play guitar in Nouwen.
Yeah, when COVID happened, it was definitely a change, and we never really got to play as much, but we worked our way around it, I guess, and we wore masks and sanitized.
Well, I'd say it impacted me, like, I fell behind in practice, like, I was kind of a little rusty, and when we did have our first practice after, I was kind of, like, missing a couple beats, and I was like, oh, am I playing this right?
I think that it was just, we couldn't really play or anything, we just had to wait it out. But when we did come back, I think we just realized how much we valued being able to sing together. Like having not being able to be with each other just kind of put everything into perspective, I think.
I've always been a social person, so not being able to go to school every day and seeing all my friends every day was really hard on me, and not having those extracurricular activities was also a struggle.
I struggled a lot because I do music and it's fun and whatever, but it's a lot better with people. I really like hanging out with my friends a lot and family. Like, I'm a very people-oriented person, so going into quarantine was really rough for me because I didn't get to see people as much. So I had a bit of a struggle with that.
A struggle I've had with COVID is definitely just staying motivated with schoolwork and just keeping up with everything.
In times of hell, in times of sun, you journeyed with me.
Probably the banquet. That was fun. Just the big long practices to get everything ready, and then just performing it and just having a fun supper, and it was good.
Definitely before COVID, when all of us would throw Dalen's egg shaker around the church when we're supposed to be practicing. It was just a lot of fun.
Well, I'd say like every practice is a good memory. Like, there's always so much fun and funny stuff that happens during a practice.
The first time I heard them play, it kind of opened my eyes to how talented some people in this town were. Like, the one song that really made me want to join this band more was Ophelia, because they just worked so well together.
I've definitely seen God through the relationships in Nouwen. Just like how everybody is like so close friends. Like, we're all a lot closer to each other than we were if we weren't in a band. And so I've definitely seen God in that way.
'Cause God's everywhere, but then like music is like a cool special thing, and so it just feels like it's more in music. Does that make sense?
He's definitely helped us get through the tough times like COVID.
I would say, like, every practice, I think that he is there and he guides every member of the band to put their best effort in, and I 100% see that.
Probably, I feel like a big change would be like if I wasn't in this band, I feel like I wouldn't be like friends or close friends with the people who are in it, just because high school you definitely drift away from everybody, and so a big change would be that like I'm still friends with the people who I wanted to be friends with.
Probably the biggest change in my life since joining the band would probably be a major boost in confidence, probably. Just being able to sing in front of people or crowds easier instead of being all nervous all the time.
Because before I was really just full of myself and wanted everything at the start of Nouwen. Dalen got more time in all the songs and I didn't, and I was all upset about that, but I think that I'm just gonna value my friendship and try to just think before I speak, not just think that I'm the most important thing.
I've also noticed that like with their peers and stuff, they've become leaders amongst their peers. They always try to do the right thing, so that's been kind of cool to watch them try to befriend people that they wouldn't regularly befriend and be nice to people that maybe aren't so nice to them.
Well, I didn't come from like a Christian type family, like, and being around the band and having these certain guidelines, I think it really, like, I've adapted to them, and I've started to notice that, like, at home or like visiting family or going to other venues, I've noticed that it's kind of changed me, and for the better, I think.
Yeah, so a lot has changed this year with COVID and everything. So something that we love to keep the same at the Hideout is to tell stories. So I'll tell you a story about Chris. Chris he's amazing. He's got an authentic character. He's outspoken. It often gets him in trouble. He often says exactly what he feels to people in authority, often teachers. So teachers have it out for him a little bit, which is too bad, but he will always say what he's thinking and not hold anything back. So I was at the school this one day, talking to some kids in the hallway, and one of the teachers, Miss Brown, called me into her classroom. And well, immediately the kids that I was talking to just started heckling me. He's like, "Oh, you're in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble." And so I kind of laughed as I walked into the classroom there with him, with the teacher, and she explained that she wanted to talk to me about Chris. My first thought obviously was that he was in trouble, which I kind of regret thinking, since it was something completely different. And Miss Brown explained to me that she wanted to talk to me about something he had done in class. I thought he was in trouble, which is something I regret thinking. But she wanted to talk to me about a presentation he had done, where they were learning about Romeo and Juliet and reading that play in their class, and he had to choose a topic, a reflection topic from the play, and he had chosen forgiveness and holding grudges. And so it was an interesting topic for him. We've talked about this a ton at the Hideout, and every time that we talk about it, a lot of the kids actually display this frustration with this topic of forgiveness, and the unfairness of it, and that kind of thing. And Chris is always the most outspoken on the subject. But then when Ms. Brown explained kind of what his presentation was, it reminded me really of why I got into this kind of ministry, because basically what he said is that no matter how many times someone hurts you, you need to forgive them. And it was something that I didn't expect. And he also said that you shouldn't hold grudges because it hurts both people involved. And the class kind of questioned him on this, like they so often do at the Hideout, and we talk about this too. And his response to the class was that even though the people at the Hideout had been hurt, they've forgiven, and they're still happy. And so through the stories that we've told here at the Hideout and Chris has heard them, he's learned about these horrific things that have actually happened to the leaders here, and to their loved ones as well. And he's also learned that they forgave, and he's connected that to their attitude towards life, that forgiveness to their attitude towards life. And he told the class about that. And it's something, because whenever he heard those stories here, he was the first one to be like, "Oh, I'll beat them up for you. I'll get them." He was always, again, he's outspoken. He's authentic. He will say that kind of stuff when he feels that something is unfair, and so he would do that for us. But then when he heard about the forgiveness, he took that to heart a little bit. When we don't often know if he takes some of those lessons to heart. And so this one was cool to see. And when I heard that story about him, about the presentation he gave to his class, I saw a glimpse of who he was created to be. Just someone created in the image of God, who had unlimited potential for forgiveness and kindness and the ability to change the world.
Oh, you thought we were done? You still haven't used your potatoes. Here's what you need: a couple of volunteers, potatoes, straws, Smarties. And here's what you do: take your potato, 5 straws, jab them in, 5 Smarties, balanced on the ends. Can you do it in under 60 seconds? Your time starts now.
Stab her. Yeah, like that. You gotta stab.
Is it a drippy potato? You guys are making this way more difficult.
Just give them more straws in case there's a defunct.
The defunct?
We almost had it. weighs so much.
10 seconds.
Oh, this isn't possible.
Oh, wait. Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Blue Lions. We're going to give you a bit of a virtual tour of our buildings, kind of where we're at right now in construction. We're a little behind, to be honest with you. We're looking at more of a February open date for the building we're going to tour through now in a couple of minutes. But before we get into the building, we'll start here from the outside. So there's 30 total units between the two apartment blocks. So they're going to be a mix of affordable housing and some apartments for youth in our Common Spaces ministry. Common Spaces is for youth coming out of addictions. And Ellen, after this section, Ellen's going to talk more about Common Spaces, about the youth that are going to be in there, and about that ministry. So as we go forward, I'm going to get into a little bit of geeky construction talk. For those of you who are interested in that. So here, let's start with this. The total project costs around $6.5 million. The City of Brandon, the Province of Manitoba, and the Government of Canada have provided 85% of those funds. Westman Youth for Christ is investing the final 15%. So we've had some really generous partners on this project. So the same with all of our buildings. The generous investment of different levels of government, so they help pay for the buildings themselves. The ministries that serve youth in the buildings is possible because of individuals, churches, and local businesses who invest through events like the Gala or through monthly donations. So the government and other investors help us build the buildings, and then it's people, individuals, and others who live in Westman and around who generously invest and make the ministry themselves happen. So working from the outside in, we start out here we have metal cladding on our building, then mineral fiber insulation, then a layer of blue skin on plywood. And then inside of that, we have 2x6 construction, which is kind of our chase. So we run all of our electrical and plumbing and other wiring and stuff runs through there. So that's separated off by the vapor barrier from the rest of the insulation. So what that's done is this building has allowed us to reach 55% above national energy standards. And that was a goal for us, was to make an energy efficient building. Another goal was that we make this building not ugly, because often it's a challenge to make energy efficiency that's not ugly. And we just thought that if you're going to be in affordable housing, affordable doesn't have to be ugly. So we worked hard at the project. We designed this. We worked with some great engineers and architects and designed the building, and then worked on the energy efficiency to get it up to where we wanted. And so we're pretty happy with those specs. Pretty happy with it. So let's go inside. Enough time now out here. So here we are, main floor. We have 4 apartments on every floor. The first floor, they're all 1-bedroom apartments. They're barrier free. Anybody can rent them. The apartments are open to the general public. The only restriction is household income. So, I envision a first floor like this with barrier free. We're right next to Prairie Oasis, to the Y. I envision this will be there'll be a need for individuals who are in wheelchair or people who don't want to do stairs. And just need an affordable place to live on their own. So this might be for older people. It might be for people with disabilities. It might be for just anybody in the general public can rent this floor. On the second floor, we have 4 apartments here as well. These apartments are 2-bedroom apartments. They're also open to the general public, so anybody can rent it as long as your income fits the requirements. We're close to elementary school, the YMCA, daycare, so on. So we envision these to be great for single parents, for small families. Anybody like that could come and could choose to rent this floor of these apartments. Each apartment has a balcony, so they're beautiful. And we're hugely thankful. We had a local subcontractor who has generously invested their time and the resources to do the decking for each of these apartments. And so if you get a chance to see the view off of here, it's pretty sweet. These are good size balconies. So we're excited with that. That's all part of our design of making affordable, not ugly. So we'll move on up to the 3rd floor. So welcome to the 3rd floor. This floor is the reason that we got into this building project in the first place. This floor is the one where we will be doing the Common Spaces ministry. This is the reason that we got into all of this, because we had young people who wanted to choose differently. They were coming out of an addictions program. They were trying to make a new life. They were trying to make a new start. And there's friends and family and others around them that just don't allow it to happen. And so we created this space that's on the 3rd floor. It's got locked doors at the bottom, locked doors at the top. There's no intercom system. So people just can't randomly get a hold of you. So we got a young person who just wants to get away. They just want to heal. They just want to chart a new life. They can. We've got a common room up here where there'll be group meetings for whether it's group AA times or group counseling sessions, or there are small groups from various churches who are partnering with us to create Bible study space here and to start to build a healthier community up in this space. So each youth has their own apartment. The apartments are fully self-contained. So in the apartments, the shape of the apartments varies a little bit. Some have long hallways, some have short, some have an 8-foot ceiling, and some have a 12-foot ceiling. Some of them have balconies, some of them don't. But each of them is, again, self-contained and 1 bedroom. So an individual youth has their space. They can create their home. And this gives them a place to take what they've learned. They take the positive life choices and they can solidify them. So they can live here from 2 years or more in this community. And they can take all those kind of positive steps that they've made in recovery, and they can sort of get the habits, get them down, get the living down, get into a stronger place, so that when they graduate from here, they can graduate into another living condition, and they've already gathered the strength and the positive community around them that they can hold on to all of those positive choices and that healthy living. So this is a kind of like a safe space. This is a safe space for them to live and to heal. So that's our Blue Lines buildings. It's 30 apartments, 2 buildings. We're going to have Common Spaces programming in both buildings, on the 3rd floor in both buildings. The other building looks just like this one. It's just a mirror of this one. Thank you very much for joining us on the tour. If you have any questions, feel free to call me at our office, and I'd be glad to answer your questions. And if once we're a little further down the road, we're happy to start doing some tours. There'll be some public press releases on the building and stuff once we get into winter and we start getting some paint on the walls and some flooring down and all of that. So there we go.
3 times a week, I start my day at work by going for a walk by the Blue Line buildings, the future home of Common Spaces. During this time, I dream, I pray, and I thank God for this incredible project that we're starting. Yet, on most days, as I walk by, I can also get discouraged when I remember all the work to come before opening, the teams of staff and volunteers to recruit, and the delays in construction. In these moments, I go back to my friend Brad's story. Without fail, every Monday and Thursday night, Brad would stumble into the youth center, drunk and reflective. After a bowl of whatever we happened to have for supper that night, he would retreat to the games room to have a quick catch-up and to take a nap. These meetings continued for 3 years until one night in the depth of winter, Brad shared a recent revelation he had had. "You know, Alan," he said, "I've spent the last year trying to drink myself to death and it's not working. So either I need to kill myself or I need to figure out what's left here for me. I just don't know where to start." As a youth worker that cared deeply about Brad, this was the opening I had spent 3 years waiting and praying for. Together over the following weeks, we invested time exploring what starting over could look like. We visited peer support groups, doctors, mental health workers, treatment programs, and church groups. Finally, we arrived at decision day. As Brad and I sat in my office, I asked him, "So, after the past 2 weeks exploring options, do you think you might have found some steps forward?" Brad's reply would shape both of our lives in the months and years to come. He said, "Alan, none of these options matter if I can't find safe friends and somewhere safe to start over. 5 years have passed since that morning, and every time that Brad calls me to catch up, we take time to remember what has happened. Over the course of several years, Brad has surrounded himself with a safe community and connected with a local church and AA group. Through these connections, Brad has found a safe place to live with roommates that are practicing the same steps as he, and he has found purpose through volunteering and learning a trade. Most importantly, Brad has found hope through an understanding that while alcoholism was part of his story, life with Christ and his new community is his future. As I take my weekly walks around the building, I remember Brad and the countless other youth whose stories have helped build the vision of Common Spaces. These stories ground me and help me look beyond the challenges of what could be, or to what could be. Each of the options Brad explored in those early weeks played an important role in his recovery from addiction. But the foundation of his recovery is this: a safe and clean place to call home, a community to find acceptance in, people to learn from and with, and a place of encouragement and accountability when the journey was hard. These created the environment for hope to be fostered and recovery to be possible. It's stories like this that the idea of Common Spaces came from. Common Spaces will fill a unique gap for young people in Brandon. As a second stage housing program for young people with addictions working towards recovery, Common Spaces will provide housing and supports for young people seeking community, stability, and independence. Common Spaces is for people like Sarah, a young woman in our community. Full of life and joy, she has this ability to make the space around her safe with simple conversation and connection. Sarah recently completed her addictions rehabilitation through a local program, and as she finished, she faced a reality similar to so many others in the same place. What would home look like when she left the program? Staying with an elderly relative long-term wasn't an option, and outside of that, her network of safety and stability broke apart instantly. Sarah shared with us this dream for something different in her life, something more. A life free from addiction and a home to share with her 2 children. Sarah was open and honest and excited to consider the new and different opportunity that Common Spaces can provide. At Common Spaces, starting in early 2021, we'll be able to offer Sarah and so many others a safe space to call home, supports geared towards independent living, long-term addiction recovery, and healthy community. Sarah is a young woman of unlimited potential. She has potential to not only affect her own life, but to impact those around her. In early 2021, Sarah and 13 others will move into these apartments and begin to build homes and lives, potentially for the first time. In Common Spaces, they will invest time building connections, relationships, and life skills while focusing on addictions recovery. The future for these young people is beautiful, their potential is immense, and while the grip of addiction is strong, we know that recovery is found in community, and through that recovery, young people are made whole in the love of Christ.
What can you do? There are 3 resources that unleash the potential in every young person: prayer, time, and finances. Investing your prayers, your time, and your finances will help youth realize their unlimited potential. If you are at a viewing party, your host will have a pledge card. These cards have details on how you can invest, where you can designate your finances or your time. Each of our staff and ministries are dependent on you providing the necessary resources. So indicate your intentions on the card and either give them to your host, or if you'd rather, you can mail them in the addressed envelope. If you're not sharing this evening at a viewing party, you can find more details on our website, wyfc.ca/gala. You can also invest finances via e-transfer. Send an email to gala@wyfc.ca, credit card at wyfc.ca/donate. Or if you prefer snail mail, you can mail a check to our office at 1228 Rosser Avenue, Brandon, R7A 0L9. To invest your time and prayers, email Brandon at WYFC.ca or call our office direct and talk to a human being at 727-1251. I'd like to close our program by saying the way we began, by saying thank you. So many people have invested so much. I have the privilege of working with the best people. There are so many reasons to be stressed these days, reasons to give up, reasons just to call in sick and just hide away until it all passes. But they don't. They don't, because they are called to serve, and when the chips are down, God and His people move them forward. We are created with unlimited potential. Thank you for helping Westman Youth realize theirs.